Why do growing businesses love working in Slack? Let's ask Christy at Ari Bikes.
Running things in Slack saves me so much time.
AI summaries save 97 minutes per week. What say you, Rox from Gosney?
Slack helps us build community, it helps us build connection.
Your partners, vendors and customers all in one place. Take us on home, Ashley from Caraway.
If we didn't have Slack tomorrow, I would explode.
Well, let's not let that happen. Visit slack.com/podcast to get 50% off Slack Business Plus.
You are tuned in to the FowlWeather Podcast, the forecast to your next successful hunt. Coming to you from the home office, Jack's Reef, New York.
Well-intentioned but fake news and missing the mark. We dissect Senator John Kennedy's corn letter to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That, a thank you to the FowlWeather Podcast listenership and your duck migration forecast for the week. All this week on the FowlWeather Podcast. We thank our every week listeners. You know who you are. Those that never miss a single migration forecast episode each Monday morning. Y'all are as ate up as me about ducks, duck biology, and duck migration. You know where the ducks are at before the ducks know where they're at. Think about that. You know where the ducks are at before the ducks know where they're at. Our dedicated weekly listeners can pick the best days to hunt because the FowlWeather Podcast forecasts fresh ducks hot from the north. Shoot the ducks from the north before they know where they're at. I'm your host, Dr. Mike, coming to you from the home office in Jack's Reef. Also just back from Hatchie-Coon Hunting and Fishing Club in Arkansas, where we hunted with Chris Beckman of Beckman Game Calls, and Forrest Carvajal, world cutdown champion and host of the Off X podcast. A little blurry-eyed from the late-night flight in, but ready to talk ducks to y'all once again. During my flights to Atlanta and then Memphis, my phone just blew up over the ridiculous Senator John Kennedy letter to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service asking them for a full study of flooded corn. So that will be the bulk of today's episode, walking through that letter section by section and dissecting it to help everyone understand the nuances. We also just produced a two-part series in episodes 119 and 121, the corn episode part 2.1 and 2.2, which if you've not listened to those, they provide details on how corn and other crops help meet energy needs of waterfowl for waterfowl conservation. And then in the second part, we talk with a lawyer that specializes in the Migratory Bird Treaty Act to provide clarity about what is and is not baiting. But first, I'm kind of going to reflect after the trip to Arkansas and the friendships that we've built through producing the FowlWeather Podcast. We are into our third year and nearing the end of the third year of producing the podcast during the hunting season, which also provides that novel duck migration forecast. It's the only of its type that exists. Overall, as I reflect, two words or concepts come to mind. That I'm really, really proud and I'm really, really grateful. I'm first and foremost really grateful for the listenership and how y'all have stood up for the quality information using the science-based factual information that the FowlWeather Podcast produces to debunk the fake news about duck hunting and duck conservation that exists out there on other podcasts and through social media. And many of you have messaged me with kind words about the podcast and how much they have learned, and that it has changed your perspective on many topics, from hen harvest to moist soil management as a tool to flooded corn and so on. We are grateful for the community that we have built over the years and that you support what we are doing by sharing the experience with others. We wouldn't be here without you. I am grateful for the support that we've received to be able to continue to produce this podcast, including all of our listeners, but also our great sponsors. Ryan Delaney of Wildlife Strategies, Shelby Smith with the Farmland Group, Beckman Game Calls, and now Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership and Hancock Seed. But we know that the podcast is not well received by everyone, and that's to be expected because lots of folks like to find information that fits their preconceived narrative, and that's fine. Maybe they will come over from the dark side someday. But we get that there are differences out there. But let's be clear that these are not differences of opinion. There are facts that are delivered by the FowlWeather Podcast, and then there is fake news. One is correct and the other is wrong. So we are also proud of the folks that have taken the time to ask the hard questions, sift through the BS, and find the FowlWeather Podcast as a beacon of truth and fact-based information that is both entertaining and useful to duck hunters. We're also grateful for those of you that don't judge us because the home office is in Jack's Reef, New York. But again, that's not everyone. Some folks are going to judge a hunter conservationist that has worked across the U.S. and Canada with federal, state, nonprofit, academic, and industry employers based on just where they live. But that is not most of you. So we are grateful for those of you that see duck hunter conservationists as a community, no matter where they hail from. We are proud that we've stuck by the mission of the FowlWeather Podcast, which is to produce entertaining and informative content. We have stuck by the science and stuck with producing our migration forecast every Monday morning from October to the end of January for all the great people across Duck Country, USA. We have learned to not follow the chatter on social media, but trust the weather severity index that we produce that tells you the best days to hunt in all 4 flyways. It is tough to block out all the clutter and distraction that folks on social media produce that doesn't tell the true story on the landscape scale about where the ducks are at. I am grateful for my brother who does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work for the podcast. The quality wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and the hard work he puts in to help everyone see an episode better. I am grateful for being able to talk about what I love, I guess only second to my wife, the dogs, family, and farm. My love is ducks and the duck hunting culture in this country and beyond. It is just incredible to be able to communicate the good information to all the great people across Duck Country, USA each week of the season and throughout the rest of the year. I think I'm most grateful, though, for the relationships in the community that have developed organically out of the FowlWeather Podcast. I'm just a duck hunter conservationist scientist with a podcast. That's all I am. That's it. It is the community that has built around the information that we provide that makes the FowlWeather Podcast work. All this podcast has done is provide me the opportunity to share the good information I've collected from working with waterfowl and wetlands across Duck Country, USA with you. And you supply the energy that then fuels the podcast machine. We're on this journey together, folks, and I freaking love it. And as this has grown, I've connected with people across the country, including Chris Beckman, Forrest Carvajal. The hunting wasn't great in Arkansas this week. The ducks just didn't cooperate, but the friendship and laughs were as good as it gets, and that matters a lot. The ducks will ebb and flow, but the friendships and community that have built a life of their own out of this podcast, we are proud of that and grateful for everyone that considers themselves part of the FowlWeather Podcast community. You are a great bunch of people. Thank you. Next up, we discuss the John Kennedy Corn letter to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We all know that feeling. Every waterfowl hunter knows the feeling. You're motionless in the marsh at first light, watching birds work the spread, hoping this season is as good as the last, hoping that the future has birds working the spread for generations to come. At the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership, the mission is simple: to guarantee all Americans quality places to hunt and fish. For waterfowl hunters, that means safeguarding habitat and migration corridors and creating more places to hunt, so strong fall flights and good hunting opportunities aren't a thing of the past. As the nation's largest coalition of conservation groups, TRCP brings together hunters, anglers, and conservation partners to make sure the future of waterfowl hunting stays strong. Learn more today and join the TRCP by visiting trcp.org. All right, and if you have not been living under a rock, you know that Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana has been duped into writing a letter to the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service about the evils of flooded corn and how it needs to be studied because it is the demise of duck hunting in the South. While likely well-intentioned, it is misguided and equivalent to a guy at the coffee shop one morning hearing some news from his friends that sounded like a promising truth. So then went and spread this misguided word across the town, and then the local wildlife biologists started getting letters whereby they scratched their head and wondered how such BS even got started in the first place. As professionals in the field of wildlife, we've all seen this many, many times before. One guy says something that sounds smart but is complete BS, and all of a sudden you are having to do damage control because in reality, nobody at the coffee shop did their homework. So let us walk through this coffee shop letter, which first and foremost, it starts out with a 100% false statement that continues to be perpetuated because people want it to be true. And I'm not going to read you text from the letter itself in most cases, but I will paraphrase. The letter starts out by stating that the 1998 Migratory Bird Treaty Act Reform Act removed the enforcement mechanism that previously restricted hunting over flooded corn. 100% false. That statement is 100% false. The letter starts out with fake news. If you want it from legal, it is all in episode 121, the corn episode, part 2.1. But hunting waterfowl over intentionally flooded corn has always been legal under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Then goes on to state that waterfowl hunters have seen a shift in winter distributions of ducks over the 26 period since 1999 when the Migratory Bird Treaty Act Reform Act took place. Correct. Kinda. This shift has been happening for some time, and my own research shows that since 1998 until 2019, that the area where weather is severe enough to cause mallards and other dabbling ducks to fly south has shifted north. Actually, on average, about 1.65 million mallard-sized ducks and the feed they need can winter in mid-latitudes instead of having to come farther south nowadays. But remember that this is the average. On some years, that number is much more like 3 to 4 million mallard-sized ducks that can winter at mid-latitudes instead of coming farther south, just because of weather severity. We also detected that the frequency of those mild winters is increasing. So yes, less ducks are coming south since 1999, but that has also been going on well before that date. Easily as far back as 1980 from our research. If you look back to Dr. Elon Eaton's Birds of New York, the peak black duck migration around 1900 was early November through New York. Now it is easily a month later, and under a climate change scenario, it is estimated to change by another month between now and 2100. So yeah, duck migration is changing, even absent flooded corn. Few of us deny that it's getting warmer and the snow line is moving north. So what is a duck to do? Think about that for a second, folks. Next, Senator Kennedy talks about mallard harvest. So now we see that this is just about mallards in Louisiana and not other ducks. To think that in a changing climate that mallard harvest as far south as Louisiana was going to stay the same is laughable. Yes, mallard harvest has declined in Louisiana, but the non-mallard duck harvest per hunter day tracks nearly perfectly with breeding population of non-mallard ducks in the traditional serve area. So we see a almost perfect correlation of non-mallard duck harvest per hunter day with that population in the breeding population. So we know that non-mallard ducks also frequent flooded cornfields, right? Widgeon, green-winged teal, shovelers, gadwall, they're all there. So why are they still coming to Louisiana and being shot? Because they're the wimpy ducks, and the weather has been cold enough to push them south. Anyhow, Louisiana is still shooting more ducks than the entire country of Canada. They are just crying because they are not shooting mallards. But what would you expect in a warming climate? The only constant in life is change, folks. The letter also includes text that an intern should have caught. So not only do we start with fake news about the Migratory Bird Treaty Act that everyone knows is not true, but the use of the term "the data" is incorrect. It states, there's a term in there, it says "the data indicates." That's incorrect. Data are plural. A single data point is datum, not data. So the intern that wrote this letter should have used the term "these data." Just saying, if you're going to write a letter to the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, you should first of all probably get the Migratory Bird Treaty Act facts correct, and then you should probably also use proper English. The next bit hits on concentrating ducks in flooded corn and the implications of bird flu or avian flu. And at face value, this sounds like a good point. Flooded corn concentrates ducks, and then that can transfer bird flu more easily. So we should find a way to spread ducks out more. But what caused us to have to feed ducks in less space? I'm going to say it. Ag policy that enables wetlands to be drained and not protected without getting into the weeds. The new interpretation of the Clean Water Act has put millions of acres of duck habitat at risk. Maybe Senator Kennedy should write a letter about that first, rather than attack duck hunters that are supporting conservation of ducks. Also, let's tackle concentrating ducks. What do you think happens on national wildlife refuges and state wildlife management areas that are trying to feed hungry, migrating, and wintering ducks? Do we ban that? What happens at duck traps to capture ducks for banding? Banding that provides vital information for managing water.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also they're a literal vampire. And suddenly my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Fall populations on this continent so we can have a duck season at all. Talking about concentrating ducks is a slippery slope. Let's just leave it there. Further, if we were talking about mallards, the mallards you shoot likely either have antibodies for low pathogenic bird flu or have it at the time you shot it. Not a health expert here, so don't take this as advice, but most mallards are well adapted to handling bird flu. And if the problem here is mallards in Louisiana, then bird flu has nothing to do with that. They don't die from it. And otherwise, it's all a slippery slope, kids. Again, unless Senator Kennedy would like to take on big ag and find a way to put back the original habitat for ducks that was on the landscape before it was all drained and put into monotypic row crop agriculture, the concentration of ducks point is moot. Next, the letter goes into economic consequences of losing duck hunters at southern latitudes, and I can't agree more. We need to find a way to sustain duck hunting culture and duck hunters in this country, and it is not by writing a letter to the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that divides us. It is by putting forth actionable items that put habitat on the ground. Everybody wants the silver bullet that puts ducks back in front of your blind next season, but that is not how it happens. We are first and foremost duck hunter conservationists, and we first must see that the duck people across Duck Country USA need to be united, and divided we fall. This letter plays right into the anti-hunting community's hands. Flooded corn is neither the problem nor the solution. Corn is corn. We also have to acknowledge the pink elephant in the room, and that's one for a friend because he used that term recently, and I was like, does it have to be a pink elephant? Because I'm pretty sure if there was an elephant in the room, we would see it.
Año Nuevo, los mismos Extra Value Meals en McDonald's. Ahora te puedes llevar 2 snack wraps y papitas y una bebida mediana por solo $8. Solo por tiempo limitado. Precios y participación pueden variar. Los precios pueden ser más altos en Hawaii, Alaska y California y con entrega.
Anyhow, so this pink elephant is that this letter was written for political reasons. We've all seen letters to request the duck season to be extended well beyond January, which we know is falling on deaf ears and useless. The hope is that this letter is seen as the quick stain that it is and swept under the rug. Let's move on, my friends across Duck Country. The ducks deserve better. Up next, the collapse of the polar vortex and your migration forecast for the week. So please stick with me. How many days have you had empty skies over the duck blind? Your property can be more with wildlife strategies. It is no secret that hiring a consultant, an expert in managing water, woods, and fields, an expert in duck food, an expert in hunting pressure management, hiring a consultant yields better habitat for the critters you chase. Less empty skies, more quality days of field, more smiles for miles with family and friends. If that's your game and goal, contact Ryan Delaney at ryan@farmlg.com for a site visit. The Farmland Group is your one-stop shop for real estate brokerage, consulting, management, lending, and appraisal across Arkansas, Mississippi, Missouri, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and growing. Contact them today at farmlg.com. Hey, I'm telling you, do not hesitate because these folks are busy buying, selling, and providing consulting and management strategies that build value into your portfolio on your land. So get in the queue today. Get on their radar. Get on their books. Man, y'all won't be disappointed. Contact the Farmland Group today at farmlg.com. That's farmlg.com. Big news coming in is the keeper of the cold. The polar vortex is entering into disruption phase, and cold air is going to start spilling out of the Arctic on Thursday of this coming week. And this cold will be located in the upper portions of the Central Flyway and then come into the Mississippi and Atlantic Flyway in a bowl shape and stay in place throughout the rest of the week. Columbia, Missouri, near Grand Pass Waterfowl Conservation Area, will just hit the threshold weather severity index for a substantial mallard migration out of that area for the first time this season. So everybody bitching about no mallards in the south, well, guess what? They're just hitting that weather severity index for a substantial mallard migration, but they're just getting to it, like literally scratching the edge of it. We do predict a 2 or 3 day movement of mallards towards the south, that those mallards that feel the itch. But as opposed to prior years, we have had cold relatively early, and most ducks other than mallards are going to be where they're going to be. So we expect the normal duck shuffle as they look for food and safety in this cold event below kind of that area where, the cold and snow has already happened and where they're at. In the western portions of the Central Flyway and the Atlantic Flyway, we don't see any numbers that suggest movements of mallards this week. So this is kind of like a bowl that goes down in the Mississippi Flyway. Might bump some more mallards south, but mostly it's just a duck shuffle, that redistribution. We're calling it a duck shuffle, folks. With many seasons closing at northern latitudes and into some mid-latitudes, we also expect that ducks will settle into their current locations as long as they can access food and water. So mallard and black duck migration from northern locations will become increasingly limited, even with the cold, because there's no pressure up north. We got a bunch of ducks up there. We got ducks with bands sitting at northern latitudes that don't have to come south unless the weather pushes them at this point. I mean, these are ducks that have found open water safety and are just coasting towards the longer days of season at this point. Man, the Pacific Flyway this week looks rough, with generally mild conditions and little to no rain or snow-producing systems. Overall, other than the start of cold on Thursday this week, we see little in weather factors making ducks move. There's a lot of dryness across the entire continent for the whole week. There's dabbles of lake effect snow here and there. There's a spit of rain, but there is no system that should see a redistribution of ducks in any major shape, manner, or form. So it's really only the cold that might cause that duck shuffle. As noted, December was the push this year, and January continues to look bleak right now. We hope in the next couple weeks to provide a better outlook, but the La Nina of dry and warm holding on into the south, man, it doesn't look good. And all you got is a little shuffle when weather comes. It's not going to produce a lot of opportunities in the coming weeks of January. Sorry, my friends. I mean, we just report this stuff. We don't control the weather. So no matter the cold coming, we just don't seem to have, other weather factors that make ducks look to fly and die. So anyhow, not meaning to be bleak, just being truthful here. December was good when you got that push. I hope you took advantage of it, because right now it's looking to really slow up as we fade into the end of January this year. So thanks for listening, and as always, may your skies be filled and shoot straight, my friends.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.